All right, welcome back to week three, I guess, week two recap, week three of Are You Ready for a Podcast, the official podcast of Are You Ready for Some Football, Fantasy Football League. I'm coming off a win at with the ninth highest score in the league. Parker, a little bit different story, coming off of a loss as the second highest score. How's it going?
Well, it's kind of same old for me at this point. I knew it was over on Thursday night, so at least I never have my hopes up. I'm glad that I could at least put up the second highest score to give me moving up the bad luck rankings. Because that's kind of really the most important rankings in my opinion. So I would say overall it was a decent week.
Yeah, so we'll get to our week two recap here pretty quickly. So you and Colin was the highest scoring matchup of the week, the top two scorers. Colin beat you by 16, 141 to 125. Another high scoring matchup was Hunter and Dan. Hunter beat Dan 124 to 113. He improves to 2-0. Dan down to 0-2. Next, we have Morgan taking down Austin 119 to 78. A huge blowout, really never in doubt. Morgan's team continues to roll on. Um, then we had Thomas taking down Ben 112 to 96. Uh, and Thomas also improves to 2-0. We'll get to that in a second, where are of the record disparities in the league. Grant beat Nick 105 to 91. Nick's team not looking great right now, and then the final matchup, which came down to the wire on Monday night between was decided by a Chris Olave, I don't know, a quarter of an inch of a shoe on the sideline. Was me beating Zach by 4.5, 93 to 88 and a half about. So I improved to 2-0, Zach down to 0-2. And that is, I guess, the major storyline of the league through 2 weeks, which is there are six 2-0 teams and six 0-2 teams. We have nobody at 500. Really kind of an anomaly. I don't know if you've looked up the records, but has that ever happened before?
I have not looked it up, but I'm fairly certain it hasn't. I feel like I would have remembered if this happened before. I think generally we end up like through 5 or 6 weeks with everyone within a game or two of each other. So I would guess that this is a first.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say unlikely, but it could continue because this week every 2-0 team plays an 0-2 team. So if we have six 3-0 teams and six 0-3 teams, that would be league disparity unlike we've ever seen. Um, but yeah, just going through all the matchups, what was, obviously your game and my game probably infuriated you for separate reasons that you've been harping on for years. But so other than that, what was your bigger takeaway from week two?
First of all, huge caveat. Other than that, that's sort of a ridiculous thing to ask. But first of
You
all,
should be
I think
used to it by now, though.
yeah, I am used to it. It's right. I am a little bit numb to the pain. Um, I do think that it doesn't hurt less, but it's just more inevitable. So I've sort of accepted it, which is kind of depressing when you think about it. But my other takeaway, first of all, scoring back up this week. Last week rather, we averaged 92 and a half points across the league, which was actually the lowest scoring week one since 2017. I don't remember what our rules were in 2017, but I'm actually certain they did not include a second flex, and I think they probably also didn't include any form of PPR. So
No, yeah, we were definitely standard back then.
so definitely that was kind of a strange start to the season, but average score was 107 this week. So back up back back up in the scoring department, made for some better matchups. We had, let's see, looks like 7 teams over 100 points this week. So that was a sort of a change. But my big takeaway from this week, and we were discussing off camera briefly, and I think you disagreed with me, was that I think this is Hunter's best team yet. I think that his team has absolutely no holes. Got even better in the trade market this week, and I just think it's his best team yet. He's got studs at every position. He's got high floor. The onesie positions his team's awesome. He's got a great bench. So Hunter's best team yet. I think that every year we say this, and every year there's a point in the season where Hunter's the far and away number one in the power rankings, and he just can't get it done. But I think this year it just feels like Hunter's year, at least early on.
I will. I mean, I have I disagree with a few points there. First of all, I think it was proven Nick was correct last year. Hunter's a fraud. So first of all, he's not going to win the league. As good as his team may be. Second of all, I think his team last year was still better. I think his onesie positions this year are better. Last year was like Tyler and like Tyler Higbee or something. This year he's Josh Allen and TJ Hawkinson have been really good for him. But I don't like the rest of his team as much as I do last year. I still really like his team. We'll get to that in the power rankings, but I don't know. I still think there's some holes there at the running back and wide receiver positions. I mean, Josh Jacobs really hasn't done much this year. Yet Aaron Jones was hurt last week. Alexander Madison. Now we're recording this 15 minutes after the Cam Akers trade broke, so I think he's in a who knows situation. And then you got guys like Gabe Davis and Mike Williams who I think are kind of boom or bust guys week by week. So um, I I think his team's really good. I don't think it's quite as good as last year, and I think there's way less of a gap between him and the rest of the league than there was last year. So I do disagree with that. Do we want to touch on the trade that he and Austin made, or do you want to get to that later?
We'll get to that later. I want to hear your takeaway first.
Okay. Well, my takeaway is in the opposite direction. It's really not through like fault of his own or like mismanagement or anything, or like a poor draft. But I think Nick is just done. Nick will not make the playoffs, will not compete in the league this year. Maybe he'll steal a couple games. And maybe I'm tempting fate by saying that while when I play him this week. But it's really unfortunate. The two biggest injuries that we've seen in the NFL this year from a fantasy perspective have been J.K. Dobbins and Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb by far number one, I would say. And both of those guys Nick drafted, they were two of his top three running backs, top four running backs, Nick Chubb being his number one running back. So you can only sustain so many injuries. And he built really good running back depth. So he's still got startable running backs. He's got way better running back situation than I have. But just the rest of his lineup around the kind of okay running backs he has now, not good enough. So Nick's not competing for the league anymore. I think he's done. DUN done.
Yeah, I hate to pile on, but I see where you're coming from there. Similar, it reminds me his situation to Thomas's last year, where he had I think he had Javonte Williams and Brees, and they both were hurt now for the season, and then he was just kind of cooked.
Yeah, and that happens every year.
Yeah,
like there's one team that just has the worst injury luck.
Nick's in a little bit of a similar situation. I think maybe the key is just never draft Brees, because whatever team he's on for the entire time he's been in the NFL, which is only 2 years, has just gotten absolutely decimated with injuries. So yeah, I think it's a tough position. I agree. It seems unlikely that Nick makes the playoffs. So I think he's nearing stick a fork in it point. Although if he can, pull one out this week against you, he's got me next week, so some shit will happen then, and then maybe. But I don't disagree with your take.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think that would be I'm not even super high on my team, and I still think that would be a pretty big upset. So, I guess we'll get to the transactions this week. So on the trade market, I guess a smaller trade. So Dan and Thomas swapped like completely mid over the hill receivers. They swapped Odell and Juju, and then I think Dan dropped Juju.
Dan traded him Odell for 5 of Fab.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So, so that happened, and then the bigger trade, which happened yesterday, was Austin traded Hunter, Alvin Kamara for Gus Edwards and Treylon Burks. I guess I guess where Austin's coming from is he's gotten off to a rough 0-2 start. Really, he's had really bad points against luck, but he's also I think last in scoring in the league. So I guess from I don't know. I don't know why you would draft Kamara and then trade him 2/3 of the way into a suspension. That feels a little strange. I guess I mean Gus seems like he's going to be the bell cow this week, so I guess Gus will help him more this week to get to 1 and 2. But yeah, I don't know. It felt like selling pretty low on Kamara.
Yeah, I think that in my head, the way this negotiation went is that the initial offer was Jonathan Taylor for that package, which I would like a lot more because I'm very skeptical Jonathan Taylor comes back anytime soon, and maybe not at all, maybe gets traded. So I wouldn't mind that move. The Kamara one, I agree. I just don't. I don't know. I mean, it's a bet on Gus Edwards, and so maybe he just thinks that Gus Edwards is a good player, and he got a wide receiver in return, and maybe Kamara's cooked. He didn't look great last year, but I think it's a little bit of a panic sell, and I don't think that the wide receiver that he gets does enough to add depth to his team. You know, I don't think Treylon Burks is a guy you can like confidently plug in and start week in and week out, which is really like what he needs in this deal. So
Yeah.
if he would have got 2 starters, then it's a more even swap. But as is, yeah, I think Hunter wins this trade. Hunter typically makes relatively one-sided trades, and this is like along those lines again. So hats off to Hunter. I have a lot of questions about what Austin is doing here. But I mean, I've been wrong before. I thought people got fleeced and then it turned to be the other way. And I do see an outcome where Gus Edwards just takes over that backfield and is better than Kamara the rest of the season. So if that's the case, then Austin wins the trade. But I think the probability of that happening is fairly low.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the argument for Austin is you think about it, who's Gus Edwards besides Lamar? Who's his carry competition in Baltimore? Justice Hill on Nick's team, destined to get hurt. Gus takes the majority of the carries there. So I guess that's what he's betting on, which at this point isn't a terrible bet to make. But I guess big waiver ads was who was the big waiver ads last week was a lot more interesting. Like was it Josh Reynolds went for a lot?
Yeah, I
Grant
mean,
got Josh
Ford
Reynolds.
was already owned. Josh Reynolds went for a lot.
Yeah, you picked up Jerome Ford for free.
And then Tank Dell to Austin for 36, which I liked. I thought that was a good move for him. I think the teams that needed wide receivers got them. Morgan added Jaden Reed, the player he put in his slot. Nick kind of was one step ahead, getting Kareem Hunt. So a few moves, nothing incredibly aggressive.
Yeah, I picked up Craig Reynolds. Not really anything interesting. I'm desperate at running back, so I'm just trying whatever. But anyway, we'll get to I guess we'll get to this week. Again, no guests. We kind of threw it together this podcast last minute, so we're gonna try to get our guests on next week with a little bit more planning. So the highest projected score is Dan. Funnily enough, Dan is 0-2. Or no, we didn't do power rankings.
Yeah, I was about to say, we're going to do power rankings.
Sorry.
The most
that's like the most
segment.
important part. And, all right, my bad. We did not do power rankings, so do you want to read yours off?
Sure. So I have not as many changes as I kind of thought I might. I have the same top 4: Hunter at 1, Morgan at 2, Thomas at 3, Zach at 4. I've got Colin up 1 spot to 5 and you down 1 spot to 6. So I flip-flop those two. I actually moved myself up 4 slots, which is unusual for me. I got myself at 7, Grant at 8, staying put. I've got Ben up 3 spots to 9, Nick down 3 spots to 10, Dan down 2 to 11, and Austin down 2 to 12.
Yeah, fair enough. And okay, before I read mine, I would like to apologize for a poor power rankings performance last week. I wasn't feeling well. I just kind of threw them together last minute. And I kind of I went basically based off my draft rankings and didn't take week 1 into account much. So this week's will be a lot different. Hunter and Morgan do still stay at the top. Hunter at 1, Morgan at 2. I moved Grant up to 3. I believe I moved him up 3 spots. Thomas is at 4. That's up a spot. I moved myself down to 5. And then I have Colin up 1 spot at 6. Zach, I moved all the way up to 7. I moved you up to 8. Dan, I have at 9. Ben is up to 10. Austin, the big follower for me, way down to 11. That was my big mistake in the power rankings last week. And I have, as previously discussed, I have Nick and last at 12.
Yes, I guess to me, I mean, a few things stick out. First of all, I have myself higher and yourself, or I have myself higher and yourself lower than you do, which that's got to be a first. For this podcast. But I guess more notably, our differences. So I had Grant at 8. You have him at 3. I don't see what you're seeing here. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs probably gonna get a little more workload, but I don't know. Like, Derrick Henry hasn't been that great so far. Oh, I guess he's running back 8 right now. But I just don't. I'm not that high on Derrick Henry. Jahmyr Gibbs is good, but I don't know. I guess he's probably one of the best running back twos in the league. But then the wide receivers, Waddle, Lockett, nothing too special. I guess he got Mark Andrews back. I just don't see it. I don't like his bench. I think his depth is okay, but I just put him. It seems sort of middling to me. I don't know why what sticks out to you as that's the third best team in the league.
I don't love the bench, but I really like the starting lineup. I guess Miles Sanders is a little iffy, but I think Zach Moss seemed to take hold of that Indianapolis backfield. And I know you're wary on JT coming back. I'm becoming a little bit more wary on JT coming back. Um, so I think Zach Moss was a really great ad by him. I think yeah, and I just think his starting lineup is really solid, top to bottom. Trevor Lawrence really good. I think he has four running backs, which you can count. He's got solid running back depth. Waddle is pretty high ceiling. Lockett kind of went off last week. So um yeah, I just really like a starting lineup. You're right, the bench does need a little bit of work. I would say they drop from Morgan to Grant is a little more. And what I did, Zach might have you and Zach probably compete with Grant for as good of a team, but I put the 6-2-0 teams as the top six and the 6-0-2 teams as the bottom six. I think it's close enough, I guess, where record starts to matter. And I know Grant has gotten two pretty lucky wins, um, or last week he was okay in scoring. Um, as Parker's trying to put his dog on camera. Um, but yeah, I think and then yeah, and then he got Andrews back. So I think I think his team's just been solid. I think it's pretty good top to bottom. He builds out the depth a little bit more, and I'll really like it. And he's Grant. He wins in the regular season. That's what he does.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just unconvinced on the bench, and I think that the depth might cost him later in the season. It just doesn't impress me. He is 2-0, but it's been an unimpressive 2-0. And I think at some point the luck runs out. I think this might be the year that he starts to see some breaks go against him. But I've thought that a few years in a row. So all right. And then I guess our other big difference is I have Zach at 4, you have him at 7. You kind of already explained your logic for that. You sort of think that the 2 games is a big enough gap to put teams ahead. And I kind of think that I mean, 2 games is a big gap, but it's early in the year. So all these teams have an opportunity to move 1 game up this week. So I don't put too much stake in it for now.
Yeah, that's fair. It's just it would feel weird to put because I had myself at 5 and then I had Zach at like 7. It would just feel weird to put me at below Zach, who I just beat Zach and 2 games clear of him with now the tiebreaker. So for if that becomes a factor later in the year and during playoff races. So yeah, I do think he's the best 0-2 team. I think it's pretty close between you and him. Um, I went back and forth on that a little bit on the 7 spot, but yeah, I think his team is really good, or his receivers are obviously great. He's building out the running back depth better with Kyron Williams, which was the pick of the year so far. So yeah, I think his team's good, and I wouldn't be panicking at all if I was him. But yeah, I think 0-2 just it's kind of a is a little bit of a knockdown in my power rankings.
All right. And then anything else you want to talk about in the power rankings? I mean, Hunter Morgan at the top seems pretty clear. We both like Thompson's team a lot. We had some disagreements there in the middle, and then the bottom we sort of agree on of the Austin, Dan, Nick, Ben being that bottom 4. I don't mind you having Dan at 9. I have him at 11.
Yeah, I think it's close between Dan, Ben, and Austin. I was uh kind of flipping them around a little bit. I slightly prefer Dan's team though.
Yeah, I agree. They're all very close. I don't really have too many disagreements there. So I guess let's make some picks. Last week you were 4-2 on your picks, although one of your misses being picking the under on the 2 highest scoring teams of the entire season so far. So that's tough. I
You
was
said it was a good
5-1,
pick.
missed on my spread pick as well with the over. So pretty good week for us in all. So let's make our picks for week 3, I guess.
Yeah, so I tried to get to it before. Dan is projected highest this week at 119. He's a huge favorite over Thomas at 95. Um, let me check. Does he have a projection? He probably doesn't.
I don't think Echo's.
Um, yeah, Echo's a 0. So once Thomas puts somebody in, that's 7 more points. So I guess he'll be at like 102. So yeah, I think if Echo's not going to play, it does not seem like he's going to play. I think you have to take Dan. His team, I think he's due to get a win. I think he played Hunter. It's just a tough matchup last week. I think his team's getting better. I think his running backs are really playing well. He got Kelsey back last week. Made a trade or picked up Puka. So his receivers are looking a little bit better. And yeah, I think Dan's team is in solid shape despite the 0-2 start. And I like him to get his first win this week.
Um, this is tough. I mean, Dan being projected 119 is pretty impressive. I guess Puka has come on and sort of solidified a wide receiver one role, which is kind of what Dan had been missing. So it's gonna be hard to pick against him here, being such a huge favorite. So yeah, I'll take the chalk. Go Dan. Think he gets a win for the 0-2s.
Yeah, and then next is Grant and Zach, which I guess this is kind of our ultimate disagreement in the power rankings is you having Zach a lot higher, I have Grant a lot higher, and Grant is a tenth of a point projected favorite, 115 to 114.9, basically as close as you can get. So I mean this is a 230 total, and we know Grant loves to win really low scoring close matchups. So I know it didn't work out last week, but I'm going to take the under in this game. Um, you know, I think 230 is a little bit too high for both of these teams, and they're both coming off they're coming off pretty mid weeks. I mean, Zach was like 10th or 11th in scoring, and Grant was like 7th or 6th or 7th. So I'll take the under on 230.
I've said my piece already. I'm going Zach here. Gotta support my power rankings. Gotta show some belief in Zach. I think these receivers are beasts. He's got Kyron Williams, which solidifies his running back position. I like Evan Ingram too. He's played really well this far, and then two has been maybe the breakout quarterback of the year. So all these things together, I told you already, I'm not that impressed with Grant's team. So I think Zach wins this one and wins it big.
Okay. Next, we'll let you lead off. Morgan is a projected 7-point favorite over you, 112.3 to 105.5. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's tough at 0-2 coming off an unlucky loss to then run up against the best team in the league at the height of his powers with no injury concerns at all. And so I just think it's going to start again with Christian McCaffrey on Thursday night, putting up a DeAndre Swift-like performance, and it's going to spiral from there. I got Morgan.
Yeah, I agree. I think I might just pick against you all year and pick me all year. I think Morgan, and especially in this matchup, his team's just rolling and does not appear to be slowing down anytime soon. Next we have Hunter, our number one team in the power rankings. He's taking on Ben. Just a slight favorite for Hunter, 111.5 to 108.2. I'm gonna take Hunter in this. I think it's pretty easy. I think he's benching Madison, so I think he just did that recently for 2-2. So, but Hunter seems still better. I still like his upside more. He should be getting Aaron Jones back. Although I guess we'll see. Aaron, I don't think he practiced today. But Ben's team is okay in some areas, and has good depth. But yeah, just I don't think he has the firepower that Hunter does. So I'm gonna take Hunter.
Yeah, we got the old he did individual drills on the side today for Aaron Jones. So my professional read is that I don't think Aaron Jones is going to play this week. Regardless, I'm not sure it matters. I think Hunter's team is just better and the ceiling is higher. He's got more guys that could blow up. I think Josh Jacobs is due for a blow up. He's got CeeDee Lamb, who's always good for a blow up, and then Josh Allen against Patrick Mahomes. So Ben doesn't really have the quarterbacking advantage here like he does most weeks. Just position by position, I like Hunter here. So yeah, I agree, Hunter.
Yeah. And our second to last matchup is me and Nick. I think I've said my piece about Nick's team, and we know how I feel about my luck. And speaking of my luck, I probably will not have to play Justice Hill this week. He was declared doubtful today. So, but Nick did pick up Kendra, which is a big pickup. He will probably be the Saints starter. Regardless, Nick's team's done. The vibes are at an all-time low between the injuries and between Breece Hall getting like basically no carries. So despite me starting Craig Reynolds as my running back too, which I hate, I'm still going to take my team to make it to 3-0 and stay undefeated.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying that you get to pick first because you're taking the obvious picks. But
All right,
yeah,
fine. You
I
pick
mean,
first next.
I gotta go you. I mean, there's no other way to go in this matchup. It looks like I'm just copying you every pick, and I guess in some ways I am. But I mean, yeah, easy one, obvious. Just take the free money. You can't go broke taking a profit. So yeah, I got you.
All right. And Colin, our last matchup, Colin is a favorite, 104.2 to 97.3 over Austin. So why don't you start this time?
All right, I'm going the under here. We got a question mark with Joe Burrow. I've already said I don't believe in Austin's team. I don't like what he's done. It's a low total, but I think that I like the under here. Austin had a great week last week. Absolutely exploded against me, but he's not playing me this week, unfortunately. And if Joe Burrow's out, especially, Austin's team is incredibly banged up. So yeah, I like the under. Under what is it? 201.5.
201 point, yeah, 201 and a half. Yeah, I actually like that under, taking the lowest under and or lowest total and still going under. And it is tempting, but I'll take Colin. I think just fewer question marks outside of Joe Burrow. I think Ayuk is probably going to be limited when he plays tomorrow. Tony, like he's starting Tony. Tony isn't practicing right now, I don't think. He just he's not even starting Traylon Burks, who he traded for, and so I don't know. The Gus thing with Justice Hill helps, but I don't really like Austin's current running back situation. I guess we'll see when if JT ever comes back, but current running back situation is pretty dire right now. So I will take Colin to beat Austin. So yeah, any final thoughts from this week?
Yeah, I think that the stat that I sent in the group me about the top three teams in luck this year, the top three teams in historical luck coming into this year. I think it just kind of it's a little bit existential, but it shows that just like history just repeats itself, and I don't even know what's the point of playing at this point. But congrats to you in advance. I mean, probably it'll be you and Grant in the championship game, or maybe Hunter will get in there and lose. But yeah, I think the outcome of this season is already pretty evident, which kind of sucks. But we'll see what happens. Maybe there's some twists and turns along the way.
Sounds like a loser's mentality who hasn't won a meaningful game in a decade to me, but teach their own. And you create your own luck in this league. And Hunter creates it right up until the championship, and me and Grant have been able to create some throughout the last few years. So um, you know, we will we will just continue to roll on. So everybody, thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next week for